high definition. Greetings, and welcome to the long-awaited 5th installment of the HD Rants. Sorry, I know it's a few days late. Those of you who read the bulletins will know that I had originally planned to put one out every day until I'd sort of covered all the topics I wanted to cover. But in the intervening time, I got to thinking, like, I'd actually like to do like a broader spectrum of topics. Not always rants, but, you know, reviews and things like that. Just things that I find interesting and that maybe you might find interesting as well. So in the future I'll continue doing stuff like this, where I just talk about specific topics, and then I'll also do, you know, more focused things, where I talk about, you know, I might review a product or talk about a DVD or something. Like, if you've watched my last blog, you'll notice I was talking about some DVDs that I got. But, I mean, that was just sort of a general thing, like, hey, look at the DVDs I got, ooh, cool! But, you know, I might do some specific DVD reviews, because, you know, I have a fairly sizable collection, and I think it's only fair that I, you know, at least share with you, to some extent, my personal experience with those DVDs, and say, you know, you might be wondering, you might be saying, hey, I see you got that Thundercats collection. How is that? You know, what did you think of it? Is it worth getting? And stuff like that, you know. So I like to do some things like that, just to sort of talk about some of the TV show collections I have, and, you know, the pros and cons of them, and, you know, and address some comments and concerns that other people have made about those particular collections, and things like that, and just sort of make it an ongoing thing, you know, because I think, you know, it's something that I'm interested in, something I know a lot about, and that we can chat about, which is cool. So I guess I wanted to take a little bit of a break from the ranting in the rants here, and just sort of address some of the comments that I got on the previous rants. In particular from Multimedia J. Hi, Multimedia J. There, you got a shout out. On my last rant, the one about the gaming world, we got to chatting in the comments about some different things. And he raised some really good points, actually. One of which was that, you know, those of you who watched the last, the gaming world rant will know that one of the things I was saying was that I was afraid that that multi-platform games would be affected by the differing storage capacity of the PS3 and the Xbox 360, because the 360 uses regular DVDs, the PS3 uses Blu-ray. And then one of the things that Jay was saying was that, well, you know, that's not always the case, because, you know, you look at multi-platform games in the past, they basically have, you know, like, for example, we were talking about the Super NES and the NES, and they put out a game on both. Obviously, the Super NES version is going to look and sound better, just because it's a way better system than the NES. But, I mean, that's really not even, I mean, obviously they're going to be different on those systems. But there's a few things to consider when using that as an example. In the old days, it was, of course, a lot easier to do that kind of thing, to assign, you know, a team to do the Super NES version, a team to do the NES version, a team to do the Sega Master System version, whatever. Or going back even farther, a team to do, or more like one guy to do the Atari 2600 version, one guy to do the Intellivision version, and one guy to do the ColecoVision version. Yeah, can you imagine that? Like, look at games now. You look at the credit list at the end of a game, it's like the credits for a frickin' movie. It's crazy. Like, literally hundreds upon hundreds of people working on one game. Which kind of leads me into where I'm going with this. But what I was going to say is basically, you know, I understand that in the past that kind of thing hasn't applied. I guess, to word it better, I'm concerned that because of the differing storage capacities, we won't see the full potential reached for those types of games until it's a more even playing field. You know, I kind of feel like we're going to see huge, epic-sized PlayStation 3 games being limited by the storage capacity of the Xbox 360 because it's not like the old days where you could have 1, 2, or 3 people developing a game for a buttload of platforms in their garage. You know, it's just not like that anymore. You have, so say you have a big GTA style game for the PS3, okay? Now imagine this. This is really what it stems out of, is it's my imagination is engaged by the possibilities of not just the storage capacity, but the graphics capabilities. You know, I mean, you got the beautiful high definition quality now, and let's see that. Let's see that pushed to the limit. That's really what I want to see. I want to see the full capabilities of that system and what it can do. And I'm just afraid that if they do a game on that scale that takes full advantage of that, but they want to do it for multiple platforms, that they're going to limit what they can do so that they don't have to do as much work to port it over to the lesser capable platform, namely the 360. So, because I mean, think about it. With a big GTA style game, with the added storage capacity of Blu-ray and the cell processor and the high definition, this is what could be possible. Okay, just stay with me here. This is what could be possible. Imagine a GTA style game where you can go into every single building, every single room of every single house and every single building. And every single building, the interior looks completely different. All high definition textures. You can walk right up to the wall and see the individual grain in the bricks, you know. That is possible. It is possible now. But to use all those high-definition textures and all those objects, I mean, to be fair, 3D objects don't actually take up a lot of space. I mean, you're basically just storing the wireframe, and then the graphics processors take care of the rest. They slap the textures onto the wireframes, and there you go, and render it all in real time. It's actually really cool when you get down to the technology of it. And think that, like, 10 years ago, that was just, well, maybe not 10 years ago, maybe more like 15 years ago? Well, the mid-90s, okay, the mid-90s, that wasn't possible. It was just being talked about as a possibility, like, oh, in the future we'll be able to do real-time rendering. And at the time, I was struggling doing 3D animation, having to render one frame at a time, 20 minutes per frame, and thinking, oh, yeah, right, real-time rendering, like, that's ever going to happen. Well, here we are. But, yeah, I know I'm kind of jumping all over the place. I do that. Just try to follow me, and hopefully it'll all fit together in the end. It's like I'm giving you puzzle pieces, and it's up to you to put it all together. What? Me form a coherent argument? As if! So where are we here? Yeah, so anyway, imagine the possibilities. Imagine the freedom! No, sorry. Imagine the possibilities of doing that, where you just have... Now, so basically what I'm saying is the wireframes don't take up a lot of space, but the textures sure as hell would, because you'd have like this buttload, like thousands upon thousands of high-definition textures. I suppose you could duplicate textures to a certain degree, but if you really want to push it to right to the nth degree, you're using every single last kilobyte of space on that 50 gig Blu-ray disc. Yeah, okay, like realistically, no game company's going to be doing that anytime in the foreseeable future. But it's possible. It could happen, okay? Now, one thing I promised Jay that I would get into is sort of where this idea of the lowest common denominator scenario comes from. And it does come from a very specific personal experience and something that I have seen happen. I'm actually just going to pause for 1 second. Okay, sorry, I just checked the running time and realized that already I'm pretty much out of time. So, like I say, I do come from some very specific background, and I do have some very specific reasons for spouting out this theory and why I'm fearful that history is going to repeat itself in this particular respect. But that'll have to wait until the next rant. So, thanks for watching, and tune in again tomorrow for the final reasons why I'm so insane about this whole lowest common denominator thing. All will be made clear. Tune in again tomorrow, HD Rants Volume 6. Until then, thanks for watching and sayonara.